Are you a parent who works with your child on writing at home? If so, that can be really fun at times, but it can also get challenging at times too, depending on your child and how they feel about writing. This video is for you if your child is getting kind of frustrated or you're having questions like, how much do I help? How much should I expect? What do I do if it starts to feel like a chore, if it's becoming more frustrating than actually instructive or helpful? So, if that's the case for you, what I am talking about here is the four stages of teaching and learning. So, I'm a writing teacher. I've been teaching writing for 25 years. And this is what I use to make decisions about how to keep the learning flowing and what the child needs. So, my goal here is for you to walk away with this tool and know how to assess what your child needs in order to really learn and have fun and be productive, and how to adjust accordingly if it's starting to get more on the frustrating end of the stick. So, the four stages of teaching and learning. Um, I'm going to go through what they are, and then I'm going to tell a story about how I applied it with a student. So, the first stage is modeling. This is when your child doesn't know how to do the thing and you're doing it and they're watching you. So, you have the pencil or you're the one typing. Maybe they're giving you ideas, maybe not, but you're writing. That's modeled, the modeled stage. Okay, the second stage is shared, like shared learning. And this is when you still have the pencil or you're still the one at the keyboard doing the writing, but it's really together. So now you're doing it together, the thinking, like, oh, what should we say? Ooh, what is that? Ooh, I like that. And you're thinking together, but you're doing the writing. Okay. Stage three is called guided. Now the child has the pencil or they're the ones at the keyboard and you're still doing it together, kind of, but they're the ones in charge. So they're the one mostly thinking, but they don't know how to spell a word. So you tell them, or they get stuck. So you give them an idea. They decide that they like it or not, and they do the writing. Okay. Still together, but the child is the one at the driver's seat, so to speak. Stage four is independent. Now, this is like the flip of the first stage modeling. They're the ones completely doing it. You might chime in here or there if they ask you, but for the most part, they're doing it all independently. That's the goal in the end. So, how can these stages help you know? Like, how do you know which stage your child's at or what to do? So, when a child is getting frustrated or they're just digging in and actually refusing, you're probably expecting them to be farther along than they are. And so then the suggestion is to go to a step previous. So if you want them to be independent and get their homework done or write the essay or do the thing, and they're just not doing it, and they're crying or they're mad or there's like suffering going on, take it back a notch and take it to the guided. Maybe they need help. Maybe they need ideas. Maybe, they need you to sit with them and do it together. Okay. If at that point you hit flow, you hit motion, movement, you found the sweet spot. If they're still refusing and mad, okay, well, I mean, let's assume they might need a break, but let's just assume like you can read your child. You might need to take it to the shared where you're like, here, you tell me what you want to say and I'll write it for you or something like that. Often we think, oh no, they're not going to learn if I do it for them, which it truly depends on where they are in these stages because that might be the exact place that they're going to learn the most is if you write and they watch you do it, but they're giving you their ideas. So much learning can happen at each of these stages. The way you know is by the cues your child's giving you and what's working. I'm going to tell a story now to sort of illustrate this with a student that I'm currently working with. I've seen him 5 weeks and 4 weeks. Okay. And we've already like moved through these stages. So he came in so frustrated. He had a bazillion ideas in his head and he just wanted to do it the way he wanted to do it. But his teacher was telling him, he had to do it like this. So actually, the first session, we got no writing done because he was just talking about all the complications. All right. So I'm like, okay, here we go. So next time, he was still stuck. He refused to write. It actually got kind of frustrated, which doesn't happen very often. I like had to be like, okay, if I'm getting frustrated, then we really need to back up here. So the third week, I decided we're going to do something fun that he's completely in control of because before that we were doing an assignment for his class and he wasn't in control. So he came in like, all right, we're going to write something fun today. And he really didn't want to write at all. And so I decided, okay, I'll do the writing. And I said, give me 3 objects. And so he decided to get kind of clever and he gave me some really interesting, random ideas. I'm like, okay. And I started writing a story about, I don't know, a dog. And I did my best to work, the things in. I'm going to do a little aside here because the other thing that happened was I was noticing he was very well, I'm going to take away the word very. He was showing signs of perfectionism and not wanting to do it because he didn't know if he could do it really good. So when I shared my writing with him, I just made sure I started to model um, quieting the critic in your mind. And I said, so I'm going to share this with you, but really only compliments because I just wrote this. I haven't had a chance to revise it or change it. So we don't criticize. There's no like suggestions or fixing up right now. We're just going to say what we like. So that's another level of modeling. I hope that maybe helps someone who's listening. Um, okay. So I wrote and then I shared it with him and it was fun. Maybe he wasn't sure yet. So the next session we did, okay, I'm seeing it. Well, it has been 5 sessions. Okay, let's go back to our story. So what's going to happen next? So we decided, and he was going to write one part and I was going to write the other. So we start writing and I'm noticing I'm writing and he's not writing. Or he is like kind of making a list, but getting super stuck and starting to draw pictures and like, okay. So then I went into shared. It's kind of shared and kind of guided, where I said, okay, let's do the same section together. I'll write some and then you write some, and then I'll write some and then you write some. So I wrote 2 or 3 sentences. And then when I could tell that he had an idea, I was like, what should happen next? And he had an idea and he was saying it. It's like I gave him the paper and I said, okay, write that. So he wrote it. And then he kind of got stuck. He didn't really know what to do. So I took the paper back and I wrote a little more. And then there was like halfway through a sentence, I could tell that he had something to say. So I just gave it to him. I said, here, you write the next. And then he wrote and he started to write a few sentences. And then he got kind of stuck again. So I just wrote like just a few words, like Martha was, because there was a character named Martha who was a bulldog, and he had this whole world, but he didn't know quite how to start the sentence. So I just gave 2 words and gave it back to him, and he started writing. So I was like, okay, we're on to something here. So you can see how this goes. And the biggest marker for me was that he was starting to like forget himself when he was writing. He was starting to get into the flow. He was starting to enjoy it. So then, week 5, it was so cool. We started the story, and any ideas that I said, it's just a little bit different than the idea he actually had. And so he wanted to be the one to write it. And so I just sat there and I was like, oh my God, that's such a good verb. Spat. That's the best verb. I love it. Or his ideas were kind of changing from what we had sort of planned to other things, which I will tell you is always happens when you're in the flow of writing. You're like, wait, no, this is happening. Um, and I just was like, oh my God, that's such a good idea. Oh my God, that's so good. Oh yeah, yeah. And then he got stuck. So I wrote one sentence and then, but he wanted to make sure that I did a certain way. Okay, this is what I like to see because he was starting to be in charge. I wrote one sentence and he wrote an entire page. And he was so excited by the end. He wanted to take the folder home, share it with his dad. He was smiling. And so this is how you can use the four stages of learning to get into that like real learning. Okay. Then, oh, I have so much to say, but I need to just like keep it simple. I'll save my other comments for another video because I want to talk next about how you can get the teaching in there, like choose the skills to be teaching and correcting and how that works while you're doing this. Um, but that's another topic for another day. So let's recap and close. Um, the four stages of learning can help you when you're working with your child at home on writing. They can help you know how much you're needed, how much help you should give, how to tell, how to assess your child's needs and then adjust accordingly so that you can move away from frustration and into fun and productive learning that helps the child enjoy the process. The stages of learning are model, you do it. Shared, you do it together, but you're the one writing. Guided, the kid is now the one doing the writing, but you're doing it together. And independent, they're doing it. Okay, I hope that this is something you can take and put into use right away with your child so that you can start having fun with them and feeling connected and enjoying their creativity and the time together with writing. All right, have fun, and I'll see you next time.